We hear that one of this country's oldest insurance companies, the West Indies Insurance Limited, or Century Insurance, is celebrating 50 years of operation. To celebrate the milestone, the insurance company, which started its operation here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines in 1973, held a media launching today for the anniversary activities at the NIS conference room. In his official address from one of the directors of the Central Insurance Board, Trevor Sylvester, thanked their customers, the supported institutions, ambassadors, and other insurance companies for bringing them thus far as they continue to function in a competitive environment. He noted that the board of directors in any company functions as the engine room and that it is important for them to keep abreast of what is happening in their respective environments.
We have, apart from that, I mean, one of the more critical things, we have a fiduciary duty to all our constituents to ensure proper governance. So governance is a critical thing, critical fact. How do we include general public? We have to be accountable. And of course, I mean, we have the people like the FSA and of course to some extent the Insurance Institute, which will be looking at what we're doing and trying to understand. We have to report, and the responsibility, no one comes and says, here, you underwriter, what have you done? It says to the board, what are you doing, right? How come we have not had these reports? How come this has not happened? Why is the organization going in the direction it is going, right? There's also transparency. We have to be very transparent in the things that we do, right? So-called deals that we make cannot be under the board. They have to be above board. They have to stand up to scrutiny. We have to be fair, of course, because if there's a serious issue within the organization that needs to be escalated, it stops at the board. The adjudication, how that comes out, all of that has to happen at the board. Okay? And we have a social responsibility as well. It is not for the staff to be responsible to the general public. It is for the company to be. And it's the board that drives that sense of social responsibility. The things that we involve ourselves in, the things that we support, is it indicative of the kind of board and the culture that we have in the organization, right? If people see us supporting very nefarious types of activity, the first thing they're going to want, what's going on in that company?
Sylvester also stressed the importance of fairness to all customers and keeping up with changes.
Okay, yes, you know someone, yes, and you call, and yes, you will have a cast an eye to ensure. But at the end of the day, it cannot be said that I only got it because I know Junior or because I know Fidel, right? And that's one of the things I absolutely look at, right? And people come to me, etc., and the first thing I said, okay, let me pass you to that. And then, of course, when I do that, I check back, you know, just to ensure that it went smoothly. But certainly, it's the board is the engine room. The board ensures that all of these things happen. We set the mission, right? And essentially, I probably just read my little mission here because, you know, to become the most admirable, the admired and trusted upon insurance company in St. Vincent and the Grenadines by keeping up with all the promises that we make to you. And you being our constituents, our shareholders, our other directors, our staff, etc., right? And by providing the most convenient and dealing process, right? We've talked about web resources. So the whole question, and I think Fidel pointed that out very nicely, about the transitions that we make. You make transition not for the sake of making it, but you make a transition because it promotes, it works for you, it goes with the mission, and it is necessary and required, right? So we've moved, we've gone from, the technology is there, we need to accept the technology, we need to use the technology. Why? Everybody is using it. So if you don't, you are going to fall behind. Right? Everyone has a phone, they want to be able to access things. You have to provide the platform for them. Right? And, we don't want to do like the banks, and then you can't find any people anymore. Right? You call and you get it, and you try and you try, and nobody can answer. You go into the bank and you can find no one. So we want to maintain a presence, and I think we've discussed this from the board standpoint. We're quite happy. We want to maintain a county presence, but at the same time, we want to make it easy for our customers to get on board.
Noting that there is a significant amount of cash flow in the insurance business, so investors said efforts have to also be made to ensure this cash flow is managed well.
One has to be clear, you don't overextend to the point where you're now finding yourselves in difficulty in managing your financial resources. Right? You cannot arbitrarily invest, because I have cash. Look, I'm going to just go and buy this or invest into that. So it's important that the board looks at those things, and that is what the responsibility, managing those things, managing the investment, where do we go from here, etc., etc. We are, apart from being just visionaries, we don't just say the word, we walk the talk, because we are one of the individuals, we recognized at some point, I'm trying to remember what was the genesis of it, but it suddenly occurred to me, we need to do something about all of the claims we were having for drivers, of people doing all kinds of things, and it said, look, I think one of the problems here in this country, I don't think anyone has learned to drive. And then so that is where the whole question of the defensive driving came, right? Century was the company that brought defensive driving into St. Vincent. Right. And what we see, the outcome of that now, is that Jarek, which is the company which I found, who actually did a lot of the training for us, because I'm in the oil and gas business, principally, that would do the training for a lot of the companies and so on, etc. Because that's one of the critical things. The safety and health is one of the critical things in my industry. I mean, there's something we do not mess with, right? So we're quite happy to be able to have done that. And this wasn't done under, we want piece of it or we want that. We recognized there was a need, and we felt that collectively, we together, and we can help. Right? Improve the road performance, because road fatalities is a significant issue. And it's simply because people have not learned to drive. They drive for themselves. You can't. You cannot be out in the public space and doing things for yourself.
Some of the activities for the insurance company's 50th anniversary celebrations will include Customers Appreciation Day on the last Friday of each month, a monthly appreciation to customers who have been with the insurance company for 5, 15 to 20 years, a church service on April 30th, a luncheon, a motorcade to promote the services, including the property and motor bundles, which will be rolled out in May. The activities will climax with a gala and award ceremony in December. In other news now, we hear that two of the environmental challenges confronting St. Vincent and the Grenadines at this time include climate change and the management of our resources. That's according to Director of Forestry Fitzgerald Providence, who was a panelist on VC3 Roundtable Talk program last evening discussing environmental matters. Providence said that climate change has impacted the wet and dry seasons, the intensity of rainstorms and droughts, and the lack of proper management of resources has led to a series of challenges.
We deforest where we shouldn't, and also we don't take care of our environment in terms of we dispose of our garbage in the wrong places. We don't look at things sustainably. We tend to overexploit, particularly sometimes we use chemicals in terms of catching fish and so on, which was long goes down with a basket and so on. We tend to want to make things easier, which makes a damage to the environment. Also, our use of plastics and disposal of plastics is also a concern in terms of our environment. So we have a lot of challenges. Andrew spoke of the Kingsville Forest Reserve, but because of the surrounding land activities, it impacts on Kingshill and the function it plays in terms of the orographic rainfall it creates, which was actually why they established it as a reserve, was to make sure that the rains came to the surrounding land. But the land use changes that can impact negatively on these functions. Also, when we want to cut down all the trees on our steep slopes and our mountain tops, that also impacts on the environment, because trees play a very important role in our small islands in terms of climate control and climate management. And we must pay attention to that. Also in the coastal areas, we remove a lot of our mangroves, we'll remove a lot of the dry forest that is there to buffer the heavy seas, and also to help to cool the dry breezes that may come across. And that's what Kingshill does. It takes the moisture out of the air that comes, and it helps it to come in the surrounding areas. So we have a lot of challenges with our environment, but once we, and I go to the theme of earlier, which is once we invest in the environment, we'll be able to better manage it.
Director of Outreach and Public Diplomacy at the Richmond Vale Academy, Steiner Herberg, who was also a panelist on the program, said a big challenge is capacity building.
To educate and train people. Why are the reasons for environmental degradation, and what is it that we can do, and how do we empower people to make the changes? And I think that's where Richmond Vale Academy would have a strong guard. I think we're working a lot with the challenge of food, water, and energy security. We have 85%, almost 85% of our energy comes from fossil fuel-based sources, and there are finite resources that are contributing to poisoning the atmosphere, so that's obviously a challenge. And I have been very happy to see all the efforts trying to make geothermal energy happen. There is an increase in solar energy, but really we're facing a big challenge when it comes to energy. And then I think there are other challenges in terms of how do we grow food in a way that doesn't kill the life in the rivers and the sea and the corals, and perhaps as important, ourselves. We are farming in a way that's killing the environment, and we are facing a big amount of biodiversity loss through chemical use, chemical farming, and monocrop farming. So I think these are some very big challenges. However, what's mentioned with the forest and use of plastics and trash and garbage, yes, that's very serious problems as well. And how do we actually protect our water sources? But again, if you farm in a way that is environmentally friendly, you also do passive water harvesting, so you will hold on to more of the water. So there's a lot we can do in terms of becoming water secure, food secure, energy secure.
The discussion last evening came on the heels of World Earth Day observed on Saturday, April 22nd, under the theme Invest in Our Planet, calling for businesses to shift towards sustainable practices to protect the environment. And the Information Technology Services Division, the ITSD, is encouraging girls and women to choose career paths in the information communication technology ICT sector and areas that consist of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics STEM. The department today launched its Girls in ICT mentorship program at the Ministerial Building Car Park in capital Kingston. Assistant Director of ITSD, Simone Joseph Oliver, said the Girls in ICT mentorship program is important in providing support and guidance to the mentees to assist with their professional and academic goals. Joseph Oliver emphasized that when the mentor is able to further motivate and encourage the mentee to fulfill their goals and potential, it is the ultimate achievement. Deputy Director of the ITSD, Jacqueline Crease, said the role of parents and educators is vital since they are influential people in girls' and women's lives and upbringing. Previously, the ITSD, the Ministry of Education and private entities, have had young girls ages 14 to 15 being mentored by personnel from approximately 35 local businesses and government agencies so that they gain exposure in areas of STEM annually. Director of the Public Sector Reform Unit, Emma Jackson, believes that it is paramount that young girls and women are mentored in STEM because there are many career opportunities open to women. The mentorship program will be active under the ITSD structure for a 1 year, and changes may be made with regards to pairing of mentor-mentee if necessary, and feedback and reports will be done. The registration period commenced today and will continue for the next 2 weeks. Girls under 18 must have parental consent before they can become a mentor or mentee. The ICT Girls Day was established in 2011. The theme for the mentorship program is Adopt a Mentee. And we hear that President of the Carnival Bands Association, Hugh Ragge, says they want to see Mardi Gras, the final activity of Vincy Mas, return to its former glory and splendor. Addressing the CDC's first news conference of Vincy Mas 2023 on Monday, Ragge said they are requesting of the CDC that the highest prize for Vincy Mas 2023 be awarded to the band of the year.
That to be returned as it was between the years 2006 and 2013. As mentioned by the band boss, we intend to fully cooperate and to join forces with the European movement in terms of elevating the standard of steel and glitter, panorama, and the sections from the band's competitions. And we will do so also as a means of making sure that these two competitions be returned to the status they once enjoyed in Vincy.
Noting that in the new era of Mas, there are 3 distinct features: traditional, contemporary, creative masquerade bands, and party bands. Ragge said they are also requesting of the CDC to place these 3 streams of masquerade presentations in 3 different categories. Ragge said he would also like to see the pan and mas become an integral part of the school curriculum.
We have to get this done. If we don't do it, we are going to lose what little we have left. We have lost a lot. We have lost plenty in terms of our calypso, in terms of our pan, and especially in relation to the masquerade component. I know that this government have a policy, but I do not know if the people in charge of the ministries fully understand the policy, or if they have intentions of carrying out that particular aspect of the cultural policy as enunciated over and over by Prime Minister Ralph Gonsalves. And I want to publicly thank the comrade here today for meeting at short notice with the Carnival Bands Incorporated to ensure that we revive the concept of a mass bands complex. Hopefully, unlike our previous attempt, which failed due to factors beyond our control, the government's control, we hope that this time we'll be able to achieve the creation for Mass Band's complex, that we'd go further and set up a hall of fame for those who have contributed greatly to the development of culture in this country.
Police on Wednesday arrested and charged Luther Jackson, a 41-year-old contractor of New Prospect, for causing the death of 50-year-old Marlo Brown of Georgetown by driving in a dangerous manner. The incident occurred in Georgetown at about 11:45 p.m. on Friday, April 21st, 2023. Jackson is expected to appear at the Serious Offences Court to be arraigned. Be careful, be wise, be assertive. Do not be deceived by human traffickers or would-be exploiters. If it sounds too good to be true, most likely it's not what it seems. This is the advice coming from Corporal of Police Garrett Dupwell, attached to the Anti-Trafficking in Persons Unit of the RSVG Police Force, who was discussing the causes and effects of human trafficking on the COP Chat program on WeFM today. Corporal Dupwell pointed out that only one recorded arrest of human trafficking was made in SVG to date.
Senegal Grenadines, so far we have only had one arrest when it comes to human trafficking, and that was in 2015. Sad to say that that case was dismissed. But as far as we could identify cases of human trafficking, there is basically little or none that we can identify. Reason being, persons in Vincy Mas, they are protecting themselves. They are taking this crime very seriously. And one of the, let us say, great things that we would have done at the unit is that we would have gone to every single primary, secondary, and college within St. Vincent and Grenadines and made students, teachers aware about the dangers of human trafficking.
Corporal Dupwell highlighted a few signs of human trafficking.
Of human trafficking, one of the things, tattoos. Tattoos are red flags. So sometimes you might see 4 or 5 persons with the same tattoo, whether it be on their wrist, their neck. That's a sign, because they would brand their girls. So person will know this person belongs to me, do not mess with them. Persons who are shy. They don't speak. They're always in company of somebody who would speak for them, who would tend to be controlling their movements. Little or no money at all. They never have money. Movement, you see somebody come in and drop them off in the morning, pick them up in the evening. They don't get to move around by themselves. Language barrier. That can be one of the red flags also.
According to the police corporal, under the Prevention of Trafficking in Persons Act in SVG, if one is found guilty of the offense, they can be fined or jailed.
A person who engages in, conspires to engage in, attempts to engage in, assists another person to engage in, or directs or organize another person to engage in trafficking in persons, commits an offense and is liable on conviction, on indictment, to a fine of $250,000 or 15 years imprisonment or both at current. Now, there are aggravating factors that one could receive while committing the offense, whether it be the victim got pregnant, they contracted an STD, or use a weapon while forcing this person to commit the offense of human trafficking. And you can receive an additional 20 years imprisonment, which takes that up to 35 years. At current, the act is being amended, is in the process of being amended to take away the fine. So once you're found guilty of human trafficking, you automatically receive is jail time.
And with concerns about the level of violence in today's society, Minister of Religion Hayden Marshall says that person also seem more interested in taking pictures and videos for social media likes rather than de-escalating a fight. Marshall was speaking on the issue of violence in the society on the Let's Face It program on NBC Radio on Tuesday.
I think nowadays that we are seeing is that when a fight starts, people seem not to be interested in getting involved to separate the combatants. Everybody wants a picture. So that's why we get all these pictures. So we see people just standing by and making a movie. There's no more the sense that, hey, let us try to de-escalate the situation. So I'm just saying these are some of the things that we're dealing with today in our society, that violence becomes so commonplace and people are more concerned about the entertainment value of the violence that they're seeing than in trying to, as I said, diffuse a situation that's there. And that really is very concerning, to us as a society, that violence is so common and people just simply tape it and they make no attempt to actually stop what is happening, and that's the same situation we're in.
Speaking on the depiction of violence on television, including cartoons, Marshall said some of these cartoons are not necessarily child-friendly and parents need to be careful what their children watch.
We also have to think about the fact that even the children shows, the cartoons are not necessarily safe because, again, many cartoons are very violent, and the thing is, you may see somebody get flattened and the person gets up again, and life continues. But again, people are seeing violence just all around them, and that then makes them desensitized and they can end up almost casually get involved in violence. So we have to be aware of this and see how best we can intervene, how we can protect our children, how we can sow some good seeds now, looking towards the future to reap a harvest of something better.
Marshall said there are also many young men in society today who do not want to work for a living and prefer to use violence to obtain material gains.
It's right, good, honest labor. But you find we have some people who think that, if I go and do this, I may get a few dollars, and that is not enough for me to buy the things I want. I want plenty money now. Some people, maybe they go to learn a trade and they can't spend enough time to learn the trade because then money's not coming fast enough. So that kind of mentality, I think, is also operating in some of our young men. And they want the money quickly, don't want to work, so what do? Then they use violence to get the things they have to have, and so they rob, so to get the bling bling and the sneakers and what have you that they must have, they resort to robbery with violence.